What's up, everyone, and welcome to Fattey Beer Company here in Hamburg, New York. Jim Monis to my left, Matthew Fairburn to my right.
Cheers,
Two
man.
gentlemen that do not need introductions, but Jim, obviously, our podcast co-host, highly decorated, long-term NFL scout, Philadelphia Eagles, New Orleans Saints, director of personnel with the Buffalo Bills, director of football ops at the XFL.
Hey. Decorated.
A lot of titles.
Highly decorated.
Man of many hats.
Bringer of the Grange pizza for our pre-draft deliberations.
Look, that's okay. You're going to get into that.
We'll get into
That's
it.
going to get into it. But I appreciate the introduction. A couple firings in there too. Part of the decoration. That's part of the NFL.
That many titles.
Part of the NFL.
Right.
I was told that.
You're getting fired by the man you hired. So
It's the best.
who's still employed?
He's a big part of this draft that we have.
He's a big part of it. To my right, Mr. Fairburn, the athletic Buffalo Sabres beat writer / analyst / Buffalo Bills occasional pop-in writer. You'll be seeing his byline on the Bills. You've been reading it. What year did you start covering the Bills?
2014.
So, right when it all started.
Monis' second year. That's
It
right.
was all getting cooking.
Cooking. It was.
Well, we wanted to have a little fun for this episode, and we got to give our buddy Robert Mays a tip of the cap. He had a quarterback draft podcast over at The Athletic, which is an excellent podcast. I love him and Nate Tice and all the guests they bring on. They're always exceptional. It was a lot of fun to listen. And I thought, you know what? We're going to do our own quarterback draft. Similar, but very different, too. So their draft was based on the idea of, okay, whoever you draft as your quarterback, you're locking in for 3 years, I believe.
3 years.
So you're looking at financial ramifications, upside. All right, you take Kirk Cousins. Where is he at 2-3 years from now? We're just going to draft on the 2023 season, and we're going to grade it. And there's going to be higher stakes. So when they did their draft, I don't think they snaked. They weren't really looking at it in terms of building your own team per se. All three of us have been pouring in endless hours for this draft.
Building the board. A
Building
lot of
the
scouting
board.
meetings,
A lot of scouting meetings, a lot of changing of diapers.
Well, you had to know that when we were doing it with Monis that there was going to be a twist, right? A gambling twist would be.
That's where I was going to go with it. I mean, I was thinking about it for a second, and I'm like, if we're going to do this, let's have fun with it. Let's do it right. Let's follow it the whole season. Use PFFs. We, as a go long brainstorm, we came up with PFF.
Right.
We all agreed. Use their final grades as the measuring stick. Top 5 out of the 7 quarterbacks.
So we'll each draft 7
And the
quarterbacks.
top 5 scores.
That'll be your team.
Exactly. And so it was a good little precursor, little preview with Jim bringing 2 pizzas from the Grange.
Drafts are about draft room food.
Oh, yeah.
New Orleans.
What was that?
We had some good New Orleans draft room food. Enjoyed it.
You didn't.
Buffalo's was great too. I will say Philly too. Everybody did a good job with draft food. If I could pick New Orleans, that's draft.
Shocker.
What would you give them
Shocker.
a job in the LA Rams scouting department with that draft house they got going on out there? That's something.
There's a lot of
no
things.
picks.
There's a
And
lot of
they
things.
just hang out all weekend.
There's a lot of things that McVay and Snead make look enticing to work for them. Like there's a lot of we bought that Super Bowl and we got a pass because I like the articles that are coming out right now. Like we're full steam ahead. I mean, whatever. You guys are living
They
it
got
up.
the ring,
Enjoy
right?
it. Get the ring. Do it.
I love that there's people actually trying to make the argument that it wasn't worth it. It's
Look
always
at-
worth
look
it if
at-
you get a
look
Super
at-
Bowl
Look
ring.
how happy they are. Like,
Yeah.
it's what you're in it for.
It's the whole mystery box thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh man, the mystery box might even be, boy, if
Could
we
be a
trade this
boat.
pick, we
It's
might
why
even
you-
get a franchise quarterback. It's like,
It's why
Great
you,
reference.
It's why you gamble. You can hit big, and the Rams did it.
I like that we're doing. Oh, so we didn't say the stakes. So whoever
Yep.
wins basically gets a free dinner at the Grange.
Correct.
So whoever finishes last, we should have started there. Whoever finishes last is going to pick
Pay
up
for
the tab.
Yep.
3 of us will go out to dinner.
Yep.
Whoever gets second pays for the tip. Whoever wins first,
dines
obviously.
like a king.
It's a king.
It's worth it.
Bragging rights to the end of time at Go Long.
Or we just bring a bunch of pizzas to Fattey Beer.
Could do that too.
From the Grange.
Yeah. Ooh, we were talking about playoff stakes too. Maybe we'll do playoff quarterback draft.
A
redraft it.
This is regular season only.
So I can't confuse everybody. You're right.
We're
sticking with regular season stats and Pro Football Focus overall grade. So
overall
rushing will be taken into account. Grade. So the average of the grade and probably the most foolproof way to do it. We talked about some other methods, but
it looked a little shaky when you really looked it up. We both agreed,
right? Daniel Jones was like 6th last year in QBR or something.
But
sounds good to
me. See, that's
so we do have to take into account. I feel like the listeners need to know the grading scale because I'm sure there's a lot of your listeners out there that feel some type of way about PFF and how they grade things, and you do have to think about it because when you're picking guys, who's not just going to put up the numbers. Who's going to pass the grading test from Pro Football Focus, which isn't always the same thing.
Well, you can't go quarterback grading because there are quarterbacks who shall remain nameless that have that in the back of their mind, maybe at the forefront of their mind. Maybe they played for Green Bay for the last 15, 16, 17
Maybe they're pretty high up on my personal board.
Maybe they're off of my board.
Where is that board located? Where's everybody's board? Everybody has their own.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, first pick.
I mean, this is so. Wait, how did you explain how you did randomizer?
Yes. So right before we hit record here, we waited until the absolute last second, so nobody could really prepare strategy and whatnot. We did a randomized order on the old interwebs, and with the first pick belongs to Jim Monis. I've got the second pick. Matt's got the third pick, and then we're going to snake it all the way through. So. Did we miss anything on how we're doing this all?
This is it. This is old school.
I mean, it's good that we have stakes too, so we have to. We're not just going to be hot taken and
we want to win this. We all want to win this, and it's a chance to eat at the Grange.
Well, and we know how Jim has told us all his stories about how he likes to eat. So that dinner tab is not going to be light. So we need to.
No, we're going in.
So we got to make sure. Yeah, we won't be swinging around hot takes. There's real stakes.
Drinks included for those who drink. That night is it's an all-in night.
That should definitely be agreed upon right now. Is whoever does win has full reign to go crazy with the order.
It's enough to make you sweat and maybe just push Kirk Cousins up a couple spots, go for a nice safe pick. It makes you behave like an NFL general manager in some ways. Guys who want to keep their jobs and just take the safe guy. It makes you kind of behave that way.
Now the bet could go one other way with the payment. What we call credit card roulette. So it would only be 2 credit cards. But the 2 people that lose, give those 2 credit cards to the server. They go behind their back, and whichever one they pull, that's.
I kind of like that.
Then the other person's.
That raises the stakes even more.
Now I can tell you, Doug Whaley can tell you, we had a very amazing one in London. At a brunch in London when we were over there for that Jacksonville trip.
That memorable.
We had a credit card roulette at brunch over in London with some people that I've been a part of some hold your breath gambling moments. That one I was holding my breath on that one. But here's the rule, though.
How much was it?
I don't want to say, but I will say this. The other rule of it, this is the major rule. So there was like 8 of us. So when your card gets pulled, you can't laugh and celebrate. If you celebrate or laugh, like because you're so excited or relieved, or if you pump your fist, card goes back in. You take your card and just sit there. And you better and just be thankful.
So the card that's pulled is given back. So,
You're out of it.
Well, when there's multiples like that.
Yeah, 8 of them. It's like hold your breath.
Higher stakes there. Imagine a bit more of a hefty bill.
I'm just telling you, just talking about it brings back that. Whew. And I hate to say who lost. The guy that lost is the one that set up the brunch, and he lived in London. Like he's the one that set it up. Yeah, he was like the host.
Well, serves him.
Guess what?
Gracious host.
And he accepted it. He accepted it and paid so respect. Anyway, all right. Enough.
I think we should do that. I like that.
Yeah, that's fun. That'll be fun.
Okay.
All right. Here we go.
All right. So wow, this definitely makes it game on. Jim Monas, first pick. So you've been in this seat before. You had the opportunity to draft Patrick Mahomes. We may have brought it up from time to time on this podcast. 2017, 10th overall. Terry wants him. He let you know back in October how much he loved Patrick Mahomes. And Sean wasn't prepared to roll out a rookie starter. You and Doug weren't really sold.
Nobody
on Patrick
was. I
Mahomes
know
either.
that is true.
Nobody could really get on board.
Nobody was.
So you did the next best thing. You traded out of it. You gained a first-round pick. Granted, you weren't able to reap the rewards of that pick, but the Bills did. They selected Josh Allen the next year, not a bad consolation prize. What does Jim Monas do here at number 1 overall?
This is one that's so easy. Out of respect to Terry Pagula. And he had a good year this year. I mean, a tough year, good year with the Bills, good run, but just tough year. Personally, emotionally. Terry, you know what? You made it easy for me. I will take Patrick Mahomes. He is right. Terry was right. We should have taken him. And guess what? I honestly think he's my favorite football player I've ever watched. That's over Brett Favre. It's a battle. They're the two best for me. And yeah, he was right. How can you not love Patrick Mahomes and his heart? I don't think anything's getting in the way. He wants more titles. So does Andy Reid. They're in this they want another one. Andy Reid, he wants he wants people to say he's better than Belichick. I promise you he does. He has the guy to do it. Yeah. I'll ask you guys that. We talked about this, Matt, that I said that this year. I don't know, Matt doesn't know me, but I said I think Reid, I personally think he's better than Belichick. I'm good on Belichick. I have my reasons. But I think Reid wants that. And I think another Mahomes and Reid title this year.
I think he's got some work to do to catch Belichick, but probably not as much work as people think, because he was going to a lot of championship games. He's done it in multiple places with multiple quarterbacks.
It is now.
But he does. You're going to just need to stack
more
some
range.
rings.
You're saying.
Yeah, you're going to need to stack the accomplishments when you're going down that road. But I'd listen to the argument. I mean, there's arguments happening every day in Boston, I think, over
right now.
How much was Belichick, how much was Brady, and the whole deal.
I mean,
so
really,
it's and it's becoming a little bit more clear every day that goes by. So yeah, I think Patrick Mahomes makes anything possible for Andy Reid, and in what we're doing here,
so just like Brady,
a bad Patrick Mahomes season is still going to be top 2-3 in the league. That's his floor is so ridiculously high.
Where I could now, Pro Football Focus grades on talent and how they score things. It's consistent, because the thing with Mahomes, I wonder when, I'm not saying the stats will ever back off, but at some point the stats don't matter for him. You know what I mean? This thing is going to become about playoffs and rings, just like it does for LeBron. How do they get into the playoffs? You know, and I just wonder how much are they about the stats? You know, if they're able to win some games. And I'm not saying that I shouldn't make it, because we know how hard it is to win in the NFL. I'm just saying I'm not taking this based on touchdowns and production. I'm taking this on Pro Football Focus grades on talent with stats, and that's what I like about that. I think Mahomes is the ultimate.
It's really insane when you look at his first 5 years in the NFL to be in the Super Bowl 3 times, win it twice, the AFC Championship the 2 other times, in the game against New England. I still don't know how New England won that game. That was unreal. I was there at Arrowhead for that one. And the other one was the Cincinnati game when they were up by almost, 3 scores, and they blew in the second half. So they will be knocking at the Super Bowl door every year as long as Patrick Mahomes is playing quarterback. And I know we're all prone to hyperbole this time of year, but he's unlike anything I've ever seen at the position, where it's crazy. Like, to talk to guys that played with him back to college, to the pros, and they say, yeah, back in college, we'd make fun of him when he's walking around with his shirt off because he's chubby. He has a dad bod, and he is still, for what he needs to do on a football field, he is the most athletically gifted quarterback. He just turns it into this combination of baseball and basketball. I mean, hell, he's an unbelievable golfer. unbelievable ping pong player. His uncle had crazy stories. Anything he does, he's just a natural athlete. And I think there's something to be said for. We haven't really talked a lot about this, but just there's so much specialization today with younger athletes. He just played everything he could possibly play, and then he just turned the quarterback position into his own interpretation, just making shit up on the fly. I mean, Sammy Watkins, he's seen him throw it behind his back on the run in practice. We're going to see that in the game at some point. He's the best. I'm glad you made the obvious choice. I
had to do it. I love them. I love them too much tonight. I do love them. Like watching them, and of course I'm taking them.
The gamesmanship has already begun because before we hit record, Jim Monis was giving me some side eye that he was going to pass on Mahomes, and I was already scrambling about what that would mean for the board. Now I'm back. It's a mess.
I was trying to see if somebody wanted to
This
trade.
Is a veteran right here who has done this before.
I was trying to see if there was trade interest.
Well, I mean, I would have traded up for Patrick Mahomes. Obviously,
give up your whole draft, Ditka style.
That's the thing on this. The grades are too.
Yeah,
this thing is definitely.
I'd go Mahomes with a collection of Love.
Pretty sure there's a chance Geno Smith may be very valuable. You never.
Well, he would have been last year. So the question is, who's this year's Geno Smith? Can Geno Smith do it again? I mean, it's tough. It's not.
I always feel bad on this show though when we like. I'm taking Mahomes and we talk about him. Like, it's kind of, he's great. Like, I know, I feel bad.
That's why we have to talk. I mean, I feel like we could spend an hour talking about him.
That's what I mean. I think what I respect about them is I think they want more. That's why I do, what I love about those guys. Like, they want more.
Was there, just because we haven't really talked about it much in months and months, before I make my selection.
Ty's stalling here.
No, my pick's it's made. It's made. Don't worry.
I know this pick.
I'm not filibustering.
This pick's easy. I can write it in.
But were there any moments in any pre-draft meetings as you got closer and closer and closer and closer to that draft where, like, Terry made another comment about Mahomes, and maybe you and Doug and Sean thought a little bit more about him?
No. And I can tell you that if Sean did, he didn't make that known to Doug or myself. Doug and I talked about it, and just there was nobody on board to do this thing.
You were okay even rolling with a Cardell Jones, right? Like maybe even thinking ahead to the next year, or
that would have had to have been done though.
That's right. You kind of went in on Tyrod.
When he wanted to keep Tyrod, I think that's when it all became. Let's see what because we knew we still had a good team, the veterans we had on that team.
That's true.
But it was more or less we were still just wondering if we're stuck in that.
It's such a tough place to be for any team. Man, it's tough.
Yeah,
that's why I respect like Washington. Even just tap into a little mystery with Sam Howell.
Just do it.
Atlanta with Ritter. You've got Jacoby Brissett behind Howell. You've got Taylor Heineke behind Ritter. Just you know
exactly.
They can start if
right.
needed.
Just like
so
we're saying.
Try something. All right, let's move on.
I know this pick. Go ahead.
With the second overall pick, we should have come up with team names.
Mm-hmm. 7 at the end.
I will select Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow.
He's going to do that.
It's tough. I mean, Josh Allen is an easy pick here as well. You can make the case for Jalen Hurts. You can make the case for Justin Herbert. But I just think that the way Burrow's football brain works is on a different level. Even I'd argue, obviously Mahomes is who you take 10 out of 10 times, but intellectually, the way he works through his reads, Burrow's the best in football. I mean, it's old-fashioned. It's not always uber spontaneous and exciting to watch, but, man, he just makes the right football play again and again and again. And this year, just watching the Bengals more than I probably have in my life. Didn't really catch a lot of Bengal games growing up with Jeff Blake and the boys. Defenses were daring Joe Burrow to get antsy and take chances, and they sat back with those two safeties, the same stuff that defenses did to Green Bay after Aaron Rodgers' crazy 2011 season. I remember, he went nuts in 2011, had that historic MVP season. The next year, defenses just sat back in two shell and dared them to run the ball with Alex Green and DeJuan Harris and Ryan Grant at the end of his career. and it was tough sledding at times. But Burrow, I mean, you saw it even in that Buffalo playoff game in the snow, where it's like, I mean, Isaiah McKenzie said it. They're running simple routes, and it's short to intermediate, and he knows where to go with the ball, and he completes passes to 7 receivers by the end of the first quarter. Yeah, he's a brilliant quarterback. He's going to get paid a lot of money. I think Mike Brown pays him. I think Mike Brown pays Jamar Chase. It will get difficult with T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, but they'll figure it out. And Burrow is going to be, and more than anything, he's got an edge to him too. He's not just
everything you want,
a robot out there. I mean, he does have that edge.
In the postseason version of this exercise, I feel like even more a no-brainer for number 2, because he has shown that he raises his game in the postseason. And he's
Derek Jeter, like,
yeah, he's definitely got that big game gene, and he has led the NFL in PFF passer rating the last 2 years. So, that's a good spot to start in this exercise. Obviously, there's rushing that plays into it. He's not that, flashy athlete that everybody seems to want now at the position, but he's a bit of a, it's weird to call him a bit of a throwback because he plays like all those guys in the, mid 2000s, but he has really continued to take steps, and it's impressive.
His pocket movement is like, it's all like all the great ones. So you can't explain it, but he can do it.
Trust his line a little bit more, and the line's better. Orlando Brown is there now. You steal him from Kansas City. Yeah.
No,
it's an easy pick.
No, these picks are the one. I mean, let's face it, these are fun ones.
But you know what? I mean, Matt, you probably just got to the crux of the decision there.
I actually feel like this is where it gets interesting.
But I think I have to take Burrow ahead of Allen. If you watch that playoff game, and granted, it's not all about the quarterbacks. It's not all on Allen. It's on a head coach who was aggressive in the regular season and then freezes up in the playoffs. It's on a defense that were paper tigers for much of the year. I mean, Ed Oliver, Tremaine Edmonds, the middle was really just proven to be pretty susceptible. And there's a lot of other factors, but Allen wasn't great, and Burrow was. So I don't know how you everything heightens in the playoffs. You have to magnify it that much more. You can't grade a game versus the Jets in Week 9 the same as a playoff game at home.
Well, for this exercise, it's regular season only. So I'm sitting here at number 3.
This is where it gets interesting now.
I'm feeling really good at number 3 getting Josh Allen. Like, that's just an easy pick for me. I would have taken him at 2. I think he has shown, like we were talking about with Mahomes, that the floor for Josh Allen is so much higher than people thought it was. And because of the way he runs, and look, I know Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane have been talking a lot about wanting him to run less. Fact of the matter is when they're out on the field, Josh Allen's going to take over. He's going to change games with the way that he runs the football. He's going to have some insane stat lines throughout the season. And we are talking about regular season here. When we get to the postseason, I think that is the biggest question that Josh Allen has to answer. He had that incredible game against the Chiefs that he deserved to win. But outside of that, we're waiting for those big time, monumental moments from him where you can say that's a signature game in the postseason. And I feel like the other 2 guys on this list have had, those moments more often than Josh Allen. But tell you what, weeks 1 through 18, there's not many guys I want. It's Patrick Mahomes, and then it's Josh Allen. And I think he just has to get over that hump. This is going to be a really interesting year for him because they are at that turning point as a franchise where they've been to the playoffs. The expectation is now Super Bowl, right? And he's had all these comments about never being more focused on football, and he's locked in. And the pieces around him have shuffled a little bit. They're changing things up. Well, hey, I don't know what Josh Allen's talking about, but he's never been more focused on football.
Never been
so
more
he
focused.
Says. And
a lot of directions.
So this is one of those. Look, he's going to have a long career in the NFL. So every year you can build it up as this is a huge year for Josh Allen. But I do find this to be a bit of a turning point in his career, and you figure out. Where he can he reach that next level? And Yeah, I'm thrilled to get him at 3. I think the hard part of this is where you go after Josh Allen, because I do think there is a clear tier of Mahomes, Burrow, and Allen. However you want to, rank Burrow and Allen is up for debate. I think Mahomes is number 1. But after that, it gets a little crazy.
I'm really interested to see if all of the offseason talk about needing to slide and step out of bounds and play safe, like, does it manifest on the field? Because when you get in the heat of the moment and it's 3rd and 7 and things break down, you want your 6'5", 250 quarterback, linebacker leaping and stiff arming Christian Wilkins and doing whatever the hell he can do to make a play. I remember talking to Jordan Palmer before last season, we kind of were figuring, is there going to be any of that trepidation early in the season? And his prediction was maybe there will be early in the season and they'll unleash it. And you saw right away, they need this. I don't think you neuter that part of his game. It's a physical game. You look at these quarterbacks who suffer injuries that keep you out. They're on plays in the pocket. Lamar Jackson's plays were in the pocket. Kyler Murray tears his ACL in open field. It's a freak thing. Tua, he just falls and hits his head.
I think
it's kind of a misnomer.
It's like any of us growing up when you're playing sports, the thing they tell you is if you're scared, that's when you're going to get hurt.
Completely.
Like when you're out there and you're not going 100% or you're trying not to get hurt, you're opening yourself up to more injury. I think what they can probably do as an offense, scale back maybe on some of the designed runs in certain games, right? Do you need Josh Allen hurdling over Atlanta Falcon linebackers? Probably not.
Falcons,
or the Jets in past years. This year, maybe that's a game that you go for it. But I think you can scale some of that back in certain matchups and feel like in the big games, in the big moments, you have to let your guy be who he is. Same with Mahomes, like Josh Allen. Part of what makes him so good is stuff that you can't teach other people to do.
Right.
Is the things he feels on the field, the way he understands angles and leverage when he's in the open field, and the way guys can't seem to bring him down. Those are the things that make him so hard to defend. You take away that part of the game, and it's not to knock him as a passer because he's an amazing passer, but he's not Joe Burrow where he's going to sit back and pick apart a defense that way. Part of how he's beating defenses is the threat of his legs and his understanding of where big plays come from, and that it's not always just going to be sitting back and finding that soft spot in the coverage. It's I'm going to create a soft spot in the coverage by shaking a tackler and buying a couple extra seconds. So they're talking like that. It's just I don't see it happening until physically it has to happen, which is Josh Allen's not there yet. He has not physically slowed down to that point to where I think they need to worry about that.
He is a force of nature. There's even more than a Mahomes maybe. He just has these FU plays. These FU throws, runs. That's when the Bills are at their best. If he doesn't play that way, people around him are fired or cut. That's what is keeping people employed.
Right, you become late stage Ben Roethlisberger, right? Just hanging around. And
I don't think you just turn it on like a switch.
You can't. I just don't.
I get
in
your
a game
point
like
on
football,
this game you don't want to, that game you do.
I think you can scale back designed runs. But the fact of the matter is you can't tell Josh Allen it's just not going to compete, I don't think. And you don't want to cloud your quarterback's head.
Exactly.
Like that, right? You don't want him dropping back thinking, and how could he even possibly do this in a sport like football at the NFL level? Drop back and think, boy, that's a nice running lane. But, in April, coach said I should probably be a little more careful. It's just not going to happen. It's impossible to expect with things moving so fast. You are who you are. You can take some elements of your offense and scale them back to where, hey, maybe Josh Allen doesn't need to be a fullback on this play. Maybe he doesn't need to run, this quarterback direct right into the middle of the line of scrimmage. But also, if that's your best running game, it is what it is, right? If you need those yards, you need those yards. And he is a cheat code in a lot of ways on some of those plays. So, yeah, it's going to be the big conversation with him probably forever because you're always going to be fighting that battle of what's too much, how much is too risk. too much risk in terms of injury, but it's a big boy.
You can ask those other players, like you just said. Naeem Hines, James Cook, Latavius Murray, Damian Harris. You've got
Damian Harris is probably the big addition.
The guy.
Right? He's that more powerful back that they haven't really had.
Good, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm interested. We talked about their running backs. I do like their mix. I agree with everything everybody's saying about Burrow, Allen, sky the limit. It's going to be a battle of superstars.
I like that there's a tier of 3 for us here. I mean, Mahomes is certainly the crown jewel.
The snake draft.
With the snake draft. Mahomes doesn't pick until 6.
That's right.
This 4th pick, this is where it's interesting because I feel like from 4 to 6, 4 to 7 or 8, really,
at this point,
you can make an argument.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Justin Herbert. And Kellen Moore is a big reason why. And look, we're sitting here, and again, I'm trying to frame this. I'm thinking about that end of season Grange dinner, and I'm thinking about the real stuff we have on the line, and that we're picking for the regular season. And Justin Herbert can put up, I think, as far as statistical ceilings, his is right up there with those first 3 guys we just took. New offensive coordinator, maybe they open things up, they get a bit more aggressive. I feel pretty good about him here at 4, but there is probably a bucket of 5 quarterbacks I was thinking about. I just think I'm shooting for the highest possible ceiling. And I think as a passer in particular, and when we're thinking about Pro Football Focus grading, not just piling up numbers, but doing it in the right way and limiting mistakes. I think this is, again, another big year for Herbert in terms of which way is this career going to go for him. Is he going to be that regular season guy that piles up numbers, or is he going to take that step and be somebody that can get the job done in the playoffs? So I feel pretty good about Herbert, but I'd be lying if I'm not going to have second thoughts probably driving home about some of these guys you guys are about to take.
Maybe up all night.
I'll be. But you got to make your board, and you got to stick to it.
You got to make
right?
it.
I was waiting to see who was. I was waiting till it was a little bit. I have one comment. Don't worry. There's some good lines.
What are your thoughts on Justin Herbert, Jim?
I'm thinking about when you took him, because this PFF draft is interesting because talent-wise is ridiculous. Received throws, off the chart, everything. It's time. But he's in the AFC. That team is so loaded. That receiving core is as good as you could want, I think. Like, it's time.
That's a big piece of this.
But what is, he can be as special as he wants to be, Herbert. I don't know if he can crack those guys. Well, I'm just talking about to get to the Super Bowl. It's going to be tough. Do they have the defense? That's where you know what? That's for another pod. Who in the AFC has the defense that could somehow beat one of these quarterbacks? That's where it's really going to come. To me, when at this point, these guys are unstoppable.
They had in the playoffs too was incredible.
Incredible. Like, can't happen.
And so
can't happen.
It becomes a question of how does the entire team respond to something like that, and how do you not let it become who you are as a player, as a team. And so there's some risk involved here at 4. I'm not going to lie. But
not on the talent though.
But that's the thing. And I'm trying to blend the two, right? Who would I want to be my quarterback?
It's usually a good way to do any draft.
And I feel like Herbert
all the time.
is
take who you would want.
Herbert is real high on my list. And so outside of, there's some other guys that definitely flashed last year, but this is a guy that's done it from the second he stepped into the league. And so there's a certain standard that he's set that I feel like he'll hit. But yeah, it is. We just went 4 straight quarterbacks all in the AFC.
Tough.
Life is tough for Justin Herbert when it comes to going to the Super Bowl.
I have some takes, but I think we should keep this moving along.
Yeah.
Because they're not good takes. You guys hit at everything. Well done.
Well, no, they're cyclical takes. They're going to come back because we're going to be good. There's other quarterbacks that, you start to compare to Herbert, and this is where it gets interesting.
This is the gamesmanship here with this selection.
This is big right now. I can't because I got 2 coming.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't want you to know what we're talking about in my draft room, but I have a good feeling that there's a quarterback that you're not going to take with these next 2 picks.
This is unbelievable.
So I'm going to gamble that he'll still be on my board later. Maybe I just screwed myself.
I know who it is.
You always got to take
know
your
his
guy.
drafts.
But right now, I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson. I'm going to go with Lamar.
I was wrong.
And I do have a little...
You got who I wanted.
Somewhat of a concern, because if there is a concern, it's... All right. I love everything they've done. We've talked about it. Todd Monken, Odell, drafting, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman's back from injury. They got Nelson Aguilar as a 4th. They got Mark Andrews, one of the best tight ends. This is a passing game that will move from BC to after Jesus Christ. This passing game is going to move into the future post Greg Roman. That is good for everybody that watches a Baltimore Ravens game. Lamar Jackson's a better passer than he gets credit for. But I just hope they don't forget what makes him special. And Lamar doesn't forget it's the fact that he is a running back and a quarterback body. That's not a slight. That is the truth. I mean, he's unbelievable. There was a lot of stuff that Roman did with the play calling in the trenches that was unique, that took advantage of his gifts. I don't know what the balance is. They're figuring it out right now, I guess. But I'll trust that they'll figure it out because Lamar is still in his prime, still a transcendent runner, athlete that needs to just be completely unleashed in every way. I think he's going to have an unbelievable season, so it's an easy pick.
Agreed.
I've been a
I'm
Lamar
not going to
guy
talk
for
about
a long time.
Yeah, you go ahead because I've talked about him.
I like Lamar a lot. He might be my favorite player in the NFL to watch on a random day. Any given moment, you just don't know what's going to happen, right?
Can I ask then, how do you feel about the whole? Are you happy for him with the no agent? How do you see that?
I think it played out as well as he could have hoped without having an agent. And I understand. I respect him doing that because of course it's going to be. There's going to be something you lose by not having an agent, right? But whatever you lost, didn't you make up for it without the agent fees? Probably.
You know what? That's a good point.
And so there's that, but there's also just the fact that all of the powers that be, all of the self-interested parties would want everybody to think that, right? That you need the agent. Of course you need the agent. And the agents are important, don't get me wrong, for most people. But to go and step out on a limb like that and be the one to do it in such a high-profile situation and have, from the second he was coming out of the draft, he didn't play the games. No. He didn't, do all the stuff that you do if you have an agent. And he stuck true to who he is, and I think he got himself a good contract. And probably more importantly, the team, like you mentioned, changed around him for the better. And I think that's a good situation for him to be in. I think it worked out as well as he could have hoped. The thing, I've really liked Lamar Jackson since he came in the league. He was the guy I thought the Bills should have taken in 2018. I think in hindsight, I was wrong about that. Josh Allen is the better player, the better quarterback. And the things that keep popping up with Lamar Jackson that I wonder about is, can he stay on the field? Because injuries are popping up a little bit more with him. And number two is when he gets to the playoffs. Yeah. And of course, again, this is regular season only, but when he gets to the playoffs, it seems like for a week, defenses can change and figure out how to make him play left-handed. And I'd like to see him get past that hurdle in an impossible conference, right? In a conference
that's why I was laughing again.
So it's like
just another one.
5 in the AFC, and so it's not an indictment on him if he doesn't get to a Super Bowl. No. But that's, I think, the lingering question with him is it seems like you're waiting for that game, that big game that we've seen him have. You're waiting for it on that stage, and we'll see. But man, one of the best talents to play that position that I've ever seen.
It's going to be the difference for these guys between being Charles Barkley or Kobe Bryant.
That's what it is. Mahomes is Jordan, and all of
these guys will be. These guys are as great as you could want. Yeah. The rings are going to be tough. All right. We ready to switch conferences? Because I have snake draft, and I'm switching conferences.
Let's hear it.
Can't believe he's on the board. I have to say it. Jalen Hurts. It's just too rock solid steady with him. The way that offense is set up.
Tons of talent around.
That team is so loaded. Offensive line, skill position.
Jeff Stoutland signs a contract extension that's as good for Jalen Hurts as anything.
But I'm good with that. Like,
strong consideration at 4 for me. It was him or Herbert.
And straight toughness. All right, everything you want. The next one I'm excited about.
Rapid fire.
Well, I think we all agree on Hurts, right? We're all pretty loaded team.
At 6, that's a good
loaded team.
Bet.
He should be.
I mean, if your knock on him is look at the players around him, like, okay, fine.
My knock would be
they're
this.
Still going to be around.
Yeah, they're still there.
No, the big knock would be this. You had a gift last year and you didn't do it. Yeah, I hate to say it. You had a gift. Patrick Mahomes was banged up, and you had a gift on how you even got to the Super Bowl. The Chiefs couldn't even barely walk into that game. So his next thing is realizing how hard it is to get back. Because I saw it with the Saints. Drew Brees won Super Bowl. It's hard to get back.
Well, it is worth noting, too. I mean, Kurt Warner, who we've referenced a few times, he believes Hurts was by far, maybe not by far, but the best quarterback last season. And then before that injury, just the way he was reading the field, he thought was
throws. The big time throws were there.
You know, you can't say he's a one read guy or a running quarterback. He's seen everything.
He scored, Matt. I always talk about. He scored for me last year. It's when I scored these guys on the nobody cares about. But it's when it was evident to me that he was scoring just like Lamar was, as far as his usage with the runs, the great runs, and the great passes. They're there. All right,
let's hear it.
Here we go. Derek Carr.
Wow. What?
This team is pretty good.
You're drinking a seltzer over there.
We've got our first reach of the night here.
Oh. Derek Carr.
I see a team that has a ton of talent.
Wow. I love it.
With a veteran coach that knows how to, and Pete Carmichael, that knows how to coach quarterbacks. This offense is loaded. This defense is real. The division is not that good.
So
there it is. So go ahead. Go have at it.
All right.
I think he's gonna have a hell of a year. I think the Saints are gonna be really good.
Any worries statistically that he was about as bad as he's been since his rookie year? Yeah. Statistically, Derek Carr last year with Devontae Adams.
I think that thing was a nightmare. I've been around teams when it's not structured right. It goes to shit. I'm just gonna say it, and I don't know whose fault it is, but it's everybody's. That's how bad that organization is, in my opinion. That a guy like Adams and Derek Carr, and they can't even make that work. That was a no-brainer. They could not make that work. That's the organization culture part. The Saints, that team is veteran, leaders, tough. Just pay attention to it. Bad division.
Look, we talked about it. Geno Smith would have been a real nice guy to have last year in this setting. So Derek Carr, we've seen him produce in the past, and if he's
that receiver is so good,
he's got a nice little change of scenery. He's always had a ton of talent. 7 is a little rich for me, but look, you got to take chances, right? You gotta go by your guys.
That's true. I mean, if we were to do this a year ago, just draft the quarterbacks,
you wouldn't pick Geno Smith.
Exactly.
We're picking 21 guys. You would not pick Geno Smith.
You wouldn't be picking Jalen Hurts.
And, you maybe would have rolled the dice on a Jalen Hurts.
We would have talked about him in this range, or not even in this range.
Yeah, a few rounds later. And Carr is one of those guys that's always going to be in that middle of the pack, and you're just hoping that in the right situations that he can be, kind of in that 7 to 10 range instead of the 10 to 13 range. And so this is the high end for Derek Carr, but look, Jim knows the organization down there.
Doug Marone's the offensive line coach. That offense is going to ease.
I mean, Chris Olave is
As
going
good
to
as
be
there
a
is.
star.
As good as there is.
Michael Thomas is
He's
still
back.
healthy. Jamal Williams is there in case of suspension with Alvin Kamara. So they've got coverage there.
The goal-line
Defense.
favorite.
That's right. All right. Well, I'm just kind of speechless. I'm trying to refute the pick here, but I like the boldness.
Well, the refute will be when I'm paying for dinner.
With the Grange on the line.
If I'm paying for dinner, you guys should be happy.
I love it.
Vegas right now, my odds right now have become the long shot.
Have you been?
Yeah,
I rock there.
You had the first overall pick, and they're like, he's
easy.
He's
Well,
you were the odds on favor, and now you're
like,
what's the comparison? So if Carr blows up this year,
I don't even know. I'm not even know.
If he throws for
I think it's
4,500 yards and
Yeah.
30 plus touchdowns, like what's the comp? Like who's had a career or a season like that recently at this stage of the career? Like,
Stafford maybe.
Yeah, I think you look at
a natural passer, baseball pitcher.
Stafford's a good comparison.
What do you think?
I've always liked Derek Carr.
Yeah.
You know, not a guy that's going to have a hard time switching teams.
No, that's
Like he's a leader
going to a professional team.
A guy that I've always thought, going back to college, that his teammates just love playing with him. There's no, looking out the side of your eye wondering, does this guy have it? Like, is he all in it on it? Like, he has the talent. Maybe doesn't have as much as some of these other quarterbacks. Maybe he was drafted in the wrong era. Maybe he would have been a big favorite in the early 2000s. But I'm interested to see how it goes because it is a good landing spot for him, all things considered.
I rocked it.
Before I make my pick, the last thing I'll say on Carr is you're absolutely right, Matt. I mean, it's crazy. Randomly, the players you talk to around the league
Just how
who
much
were teammates with Derek Carr at one point and just say how unbelievable of a human being he is.
to respect.
Just above and beyond. I mean, he had his whole renaissance in college. He wasn't living the way he thought he should be living, partying, drinking, womanizing, all that. And like had this epiphany and changed his lifestyle on the spot in college. And basically gets engaged, gets married. Now they have a bunch of kids, and he's just like this force of good behind the scenes. I was just talking to a player down in Jacksonville for a story, and he went out of his way to say that Derek Carr was like the best teammate he ever had. And he said something was going on in his life, and Derek just looked at him and said, "I'm going to pray for you." Like he just does that to everybody. I'm going to pray for you. Like it's not for show. It's real with him.
There's respect there.
Yeah.
Saints win. They know the Saints. This is it. They believe in this guy. And they're built to in the NFC.
Anything
in the NFC.
I love it.
Playing in that division, he's going to have
Opposite.
some big games. He's going to pad that PFF grade. I think could be a sneaky good pick.
All right, there we go. That was okay.
Right.
This is now. It's going to get. Who did I miss on? Let's see who I missed on.
I've got to go Trevor Lawrence here.
Let's see.
I wanted to go Lawrence in the second round.
That's a big thing we do in the drafts too. I was going to take him.
You could just sense that, and I waited on him because I knew you were going to take him. So that was the gamesmanship, obviously. By the middle of last season, he got the Urban Meyer stench off him. I mean, you just saw Trevor Lawrence start to resemble everything that everybody was expecting.
What coaching
that we saw.
Yeah, what coaching can do.
Right. Competent coaching, good play calling, structure, everything that we talk about. That's what you get with Doug Peterson. That's what you get with Press Taylor. And they know they have a special talent at quarterback, and they found that balance of accentuating his gifts, yet still pushing him in areas where he had to get better because you pointed it out in your quarterback grading. I mean, he wasn't perfect himself as a rookie. There were a lot of flaws. But then you just see the throws that very few quarterbacks can make. The feathering it over his linebacker before the safety, the deep outs, the looking off guys. He's 6'6", 6'7", and athletic. I mean, he can run. His ability to just shake off turnovers. I mean, that wild card game. What was it, 4 interceptions in the first half?
Yeah.
Not all his fault, but, I mean, the mental toughness to just shake that off and then have whatever was the third best comeback ever in the full season. That takes a lot out of the quarterback. So, and oh, by the way, Calvin Ridley is joining the receiver room. So you have Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, who was better than anybody expected, a speed guy that you can line up all over. Zay Jones had a career year. Evan Ingram, They got some contract stuff to work out, but he's got the tag, working on the extension. The line was solid. Travis Etienne does everything. I'm tempted to say that the Jacksonville Jaguars will be in the Super Bowl. So it's a podcast for another day. Love the Jags. Love Trevor Lawrence. I think that he is going to blow up this season. Up.
In this range.
AFC.
That's as high upside as you're going to get, right? Like, that's a guy that can jump into the top 3 or 4 pretty easily with the talent that he has. So that was the guy I was targeting with this pick. And,
I'm not there. I'm not there with him.
Well, see, I considered it at the turn. Do you go Justin Herbert, do you go Jalen Hurts, or do you go Trevor Lawrence?
I honestly would have taken Lawrence 4th.
Those were my 3, 4, 5. Herbert's got a little bit more of a track record, and but what Trevor Lawrence did in the playoffs, I think, was a big moment for him. He's got more talent around him. He's got more experience. Like, it's a good situation. I think it's a good gamble though for Ty. 2 completely different quarterbacks that you guys just took back to back.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take one who's
this is gonna be good.
He's unlike any quarterback, really, that that maybe we've ever seen. I'm taking Aaron Rodgers.
Uh-huh.
I mean, look, when he was, he's not that far removed from being MVP of the league. Pro Football Focus loves this guy when he's playing well.
So do I. He always scores well for me.
He was I think 17th for PFF last year, and last year was a disaster for Green Bay in a lot of ways. Offensively, they were stuck in the mud.
He can still throw.
I cannot sit here and confidently tell you anything about what's going on inside his head, but it seems to be the pattern with him is that he does like when he can try to prove people wrong. And he's pretty happy out there in New York so far. He's got some talent around him. He might be over the hill, right? You get to that age, you don't know. Yeah. But if there's any of that old quarterback left with the talent they have on that offense, I think there's a good I'm sitting here, Allen Herbert and Aaron Rodgers. Feeling pretty good about that.
Did you consult with Aaron via FaceTime?
There were no FaceTimes exchanged. We don't know if he wants to be a part of this team. But
right. He only talks to people he likes.
Right. I thought maybe I should turn off all the lights in here before I made the pick.
Yeah.
Just have a little darkness retreat. And
he was off some people's boards.
He was not on my board. I value honesty.
I figured he would.
Character.
Character red flag. I didn't know where he would be on the bonus board.
He was almost there with Carr. I just wanted to mess around.
Well,
I could have sat around and waited a little longer, but look, when you see your guy,
he's ridiculous. He's better than Derek Carr,
and he's better than he played last season.
I agree with that too.
If he's refreshed and he's ready to roll, look, I have a hard time stomaching anything with the New York Jets and ever buying in that they're turning a corner. So I don't really buy into the team necessarily.
It's hard.
But do I buy into the fact that Aaron Rodgers can squeeze out one more productive season? Yeah, I'll take that chance especially in a setting like this, right? You got to take your risks. I have no idea what to do with the number 9 pick. This is where it's I think it's really weird. Rodgers was easy.
It's funny when you actually do it and you're like, wow.
It drops off really quick after those guys.
Is it an easy pick though? Do we want to move off Rodgers that quickly?
I am. You have to. This is on you.
I feel like I should give you the floor. I know you've got.
I think he's so good.
It's been another big week for Aaron Rodgers. He spoke to Matt Schneidman.
Great get by Matt Schneidman, Syracuse alum. Read the story. It was fantastic. He does a great job covering the team. This is no indictment of
and it's another, but it was another bit of Aaron Rodgers.
Well, he strikes me as somebody who lies and then forgets his lies, and he can't keep his lies straight. So he kind of stumbles over himself at all these different twists and turns and contradicts himself left and right. It's hard to really follow his logic. The Packers aren't going to put anything out there because they're ready to move on. Trust me, they don't want to relitigate the past, even though I truly believe the facts are on their side with how that went down. They're just ready to move on. I mean, I think they're so tired of this guy and the drama and the antics and the headache. And he wanted the GM fired just because they drafted a quarterback. So you're getting a temperamental, to your point, maybe he plays his best when he's pissed off and he has something to prove. We've seen it before, but we saw it before with Devontae Adams, with a receiver who he had thousands upon thousands of reps baked into his personal encyclopedia with. I mean, that was the basis for their offense, those 2 MVP seasons at the end where they could just audible the plays from 4 or 5 years ago. You can't do that with Garrett Wilson. You can't do that with, I guess you can do it with Randall Cobb, but, Cobb is a corpse at this point. I got to go to the old thesaurus. I feel like I've referred to Cobb as a corpse and several times. Well, he shouldn't be in the NFL. He's not an NFL player at this point. He's not. Would you employ Randall Cobb if you were running an NFL team? I mean, if he wasn't Aaron Rodgers' friend, he wouldn't be on the team.
Agreed.
So, I mean, there's a lot of ridiculousness that you have to put up with him as your starting quarterback. He just didn't see the field well last year. There were receivers open. He just didn't hit them. And physically, he wasn't the same guy.
I agree with that, too. I'm not buying into the Jets either. I'm just not. That's the AFC. These are seasoned, tough teams that have been battling right now to get to the Super Bowl. You're just coming strolling in. I don't think it's going to be as simple as that. You have nothing established. You're going against established teams.
They're a terrible organization for a reason.
I don't think they're going to win.
Bad. We're talking about talent with the Jets. That's all we ever talk about. Talent.
And I haven't bought – it's very hard to buy into them always. And I think it's just as difficult in this situation because, like you said, there's so many new pieces. And the AFC is just loaded with teams that have been doing this year after year.
That's what I'm saying.
And so I don't need to buy the Jets to buy Aaron Rodgers.
No, not for PFF profile. Agreed again.
So that's where I come from. But, yeah, I can separate the two for sure.
No,
I think Aaron Rodgers could put up some numbers and they could lose a lot of games. And I could see things getting quite ugly, even if Aaron Rodgers has a solid season. So the idea that going from Green Bay to the New York Jets is like some sort of football awakening. Like you're going off to football summer camp or something, and you're going to have this great time. I'm not so sure that Aaron Rodgers fully grasps what he's walking into, and I don't know that. Doesn't it feel like an odd fit in New York at this stage in his career? The way he likes to talk, the mess he seems to get himself in with his various versions of the truth that he likes to spin. New York just seems like an odd place where if things start going wrong, for a guy that went into the darkness for 48 hours or 3 days, whatever the hell it was, for a guy that seems like he wants to be off the grid a lot of the time, is now going into New York City. A lot of it seems odd to me, but I can see some numbers being put out.
What's interesting, Matt, is, when I first started covering the team, 2011, I was good buddies with Kareem Copeland. So we're at competing newspapers. He's covering the team for the Green Bay Press Gazette. I'm at the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, but he's like one of my best friends out there. We got into a lot of shenanigans. At the Washington Post now. But I forget, I just was texting him to confirm this recently. Aaron Rodgers, shut the Press Gazette out of one-on-one interviews. Basically just talking at his locker one-on-one after the scrum or whatever, which everybody does. Shut them out for a year because I believe a photo editor at the newspaper in a photo gallery or in the entertainment section on the site referenced that he was out with his girlfriend or fiance at the time. It was something very innocuous. And to your point, he, for the longest time, valued his privacy. It was off limits. Nothing off the field. I don't want anything out there. And then all of a sudden it shifted. And it was around 2014, I believe, is when he was dating Olivia Munn, cut out his family, cut out his closest friends. That's when the Christmas presents get sent back to the family. That's when he doesn't go to his grandfather's funeral. All the stuff that we've reported on in the past. There's this shift, and all of a sudden, he's very public. And he's with celebrity to celebrity. Danica Patrick. Was it Shailene Woodley? How do you say her name?
He's public in his own way, right? But
Yeah.
he's still very sensitive about what people say about him.
I see what
But
you
he
mean.
does seem to like to joust a little bit more out in the open. But he's got his hand-picked interviews that he does. He's got, he does seem a little bit more sensitive to what
he believes he can dominate the narrative of his career, and
that's going to be harder to do in New
he
York.
wants. And
that's going to be hard to do in that market with that much media attention. So it's an interesting fit at this point in his career. How odd is it that history? Like I'm having like deja vu with Brett Favre and the whole thing. It's like it is really odd how it's Green Bay's got their quarterback in waiting, and they're trying to push the legend out the door. It's just and they end up in New York of all places. But
man, does Pat McAfee owe him anything from that contract? Is that a dinner, or is that, or does he owe more than a dinner? That contract.
Did Pat McAfee sell out? Do you believe you take that?
Take it.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of money. Yeah.
He's a star. That was David Pollock. He saw that on College Game Day this fall. They started bumping David Pollock out right away, like on starting rotation almost on their College Game Day.
Hey, power to anybody that makes it in the business.
He's a star, man. He's a star.
Not my cup of Joe.
They want to hear him. Right. But people want to hear him.
That style. Yeah.
I'm with you on that. He's for ESPN. He's for ESPN. Somehow, some way.
The 10th pick.
Go ahead. Here we go.
10th, right? Or 9th, I guess.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, yeah.
10th? See, this is where I'm starting to think about that bill at the end of the year, and you're starting to think it's easy enough to go upside all the time, but I made the joke, and it wasn't really a joke. I'm picking Kirk Cousins.
Whoa!
He's going to grade. He's a rock
This guy
PFF.
we're sitting at 10, and I think he's just a solid 10th to 12th best quarterback when it comes down to the end of the year. Do I want this guy playing for me in the playoffs? Hell no. But he's got the best receiver in football to throw to. He's just got a track record of doing it over and over again. He's got job security. Look, we all know what Kirk Cousins is. We don't even need to litigate it, right? We don't need to say. I know why I wouldn't really want him as my quarterback long term. But if we're just talking who's going to put up the numbers this year, he'll do fine. I mean, eventually he won't, because that's how it goes for every quarterback. But at this point, I need a safe pick. I just took Aaron Rodgers, right? I need a safe pick. I need to backstop him with a guy that's got a high floor.
Tough.
We know what Kirk Cousins is at this point. I don't have much to add. It's hard to criticize the pick. He's accurate.
He's survived
one of the
this
more
league.
accurate quarterbacks in the NFL. Still,
More than survive. Like
he's just been he'll probably get paid again, right?
There's a chance.
There's no reason to think he won't.
Yes.
Not quite what he got paid the first time.
They drafted him another weapon, right? Jordan Addison.
That's the thing. He's got a nice offense out there. Somebody's got to get Justin Jefferson his yards and touchdowns, right? So PFF likes it.
It's a great pick. I think that's a fantastic pick, and I can't argue it. All right, gonna take a little bit of a risk myself. Tua Tagovailoa.
I
was thinking about him at
the injury
10.
risk is.
If you listen to our podcast, his picks, I could have made these picks.
I really think
these are the guys you like.
a full off season now.
Yeah.
Second full off season with Mike McDaniel.
I'm with you on that.
You know what surprised me the more I was looking into Tua's season? I think watching it and looking at the way that Tyreek and Jalen Waddle run after the catch, you think it's a lot of like shorter passes and they're doing something with it. But they are stretching the field with those guys. He drives the ball down the field. Now, the Chargers, you mentioned the Chargers defense earlier, like they kind of picked the lock on that offense. I believe it was Sunday Night Football, where it was just confused Tua enough, cloud things up a little bit on that first read, and it was hard for him to get to 2 to 3 and react. So that's what this offseason is about when he's not doing jiu-jitsu and learning how to fall with grace, which I mean, we'll see if he can figure that out. Everybody who read the Kevin Cobb stuff knows it's pretty scary when you get concussion 3 to 4. I mean, you lived it. You were on the staff. You were going to start Kevin Cobb that 2013 season, and he suffered the 4th concussion, and the fans are all hazy right in front of him. So, yeah, I mean, if Tua really did suffer a concussion against the Bills like we all thought he did, then that meant he had 3 last year. That's 3 in one season. That's horrifying to think where it could go from here.
I agree. It's hard to believe. Like, I really think it is.
It's nerve-wracking to think that he's going to be out there. Like, those are the moments that are hard to hide from, I feel like, as a football fan.
Yeah.
Just knowing
we talk about it.
You can't forget it.
No.
What happened last year, and to know that he's another hit away from that is scary. But you know, you go back to September, October. This guy was one of the hottest passers in the league. I mean, it makes it even harder to watch when it's like this guy's at the very top of the sport for a period of time, and then wondering whether he'll ever be able to play again before he's ever even really had a chance to be at the top for very long. You know, he's barely gotten to the top of the mountain before he's getting kicked back down. And you hope that the Dolphins, the league, will, you know, protect him from himself. But we know how it goes, unfortunately. But it's not how it works a lot of the time. And so we'll see. But yeah, I mean,
I love that they picked up his option. You know, that financial security. Yep. That's just a good move. Just man to man for an organization. Maybe not the smartest thing.
But
you know,
regardless,
if you're going to run a cold-hearted business, it sends the message that we care about the players. Because that's fully guaranteed. He's getting that money.
They pay attention to that.
Right, that sends a good message to the locker room. And look, it's a gigantic if. But if he's out there, if he's healthy, man, he was on fire. He was right there in the MVP race into mid to late November. I think I can't go wrong at number 11, taking Tua, who, if he's hot, if he stays on the field, I think this offense will have a counterpunch. I mean, how good Mike McDaniel was. Granted, he couldn't get the offense out of the huddle and snapping the ball in time a handful of times against Buffalo in that wild card game, but it says so much about him as a head coach and the team that they were in that game down to Skylar Thompson. It's unbelievable. They really should have won the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if they're full strength, they could win the Super Bowl too. They're right in that conversation.
AFC.
He was right there. He was in the conversation in our room here.
Stat-wise.
We went Kirk Cousins, went with a safe pick. Roll the dice with Aaron Rodgers. The injury, you know, with Tua is what's going to scare you away. But if I'm starting a team, I'd probably take the chance on Tua over a Kirk Cousins, because you got the upside when he's playing well with those weapons and that offense that is legitimate. Like, they could make a run in the AFC.
All right, Monis, you make your pick and break it down while I get another beer.
If you have the seltzer's right,
seltzer.
Water, if you see
Matt, you need a beer?
Good.
You're good. All right.
It's right by the bottle of waters. All right, Matt, you're gonna like this. I'm gonna give both the picks, and we'll fill him in when he gets back. Back to back, I'm going playmakers that I believe in. Justin Fields, Deshaun Watson. Now, here's where this is why this is probably not good for me. PFF, this could go bad on PFF. And we're going to talk about this when he gets back. Deshaun Watson can't play worse. That was embarrassing. But he should have looked like that. He hasn't played. He hasn't practiced. He should have looked that bad. It was like embarrassing bad how he looked. That's not him. And he's got too much in him to play football. You know, pride-wise, he's not going to look like that on tape. He never has in his life. He's not going out like that. Justin Fields, Fields are so tough. What he's been thrown into in the NFL is almost wrong. That the Matt Nagy era, then you get rookie coaches, the teams just flipping around, set up for failure. All he does, puts his team on his back. But it's all right now running, which PFF, the passing's going to have to get better for him to crack my
But it won't
But
be
if
all
it does-
bad. It won't be all bad because
What do you think? Yeah, go
he'll
ahead.
boost himself
Oh,
because of the rushing, right?
You go ahead. I did them both. I went Justin Fields, Deshaun Watson. You sit down, take it in. Matt just heard my explanation.
You're right that the PFF passing grade for Fields is probably going to be lagging a little bit. But I think the running will offset some of that. And still, you would think room to grow plenty of room to grow as a passer.
I do think there's room to grow.
And, so at times last year, the plays he was making, it was kind of crazy. I didn't, because of the situation he got thrown into, didn't think it was ever going to happen for him. And so, I mean, look, you're building a team over there that you got Derek Carr, right? So now you take some chances. You know what you're getting in Derek Carr. You take some chances. I think Deshaun Watson.
I feel like you guys are, when we're done with this, we're going to have Vegas odds as well.
Okay. I think
I feel
Deshaun
like I'm
Watson
gonna be the
is the
long shot. I
bigger
feel like-
risk of your two picks.
I said, I took my explanation on Watson was that was embarrassing what he was put out there last year. He has too much champion football talent. He's not going out like that.
I just watching him.
He was terrible.
It seemed like, okay, this first game was pretty rusty, but he'll work it off. And then the next game, he said, that was pretty rusty too, but he'll work. He was just rusty and not that great in each of his starts.
Terrible.
It's been a while since we saw Deshaun Watson play really
Good football.
How do you unlock that? Like, how do you get back to that point?
Well, I think the reps.
DeAndre Hopkins?
Well, that could help. Jump balls help. Being able to throw jump balls help. But no, I think it's a matter of the reps, playing, getting your legs back.
Yeah.
He was out of football. And he looked like it. We all know that is not him. We know the guy that could have beat Buffalo.
I think that's the risk you're taking here, though, is that guy's still there in Cleveland. Again, kind of what we talked about with the Jets.
Yeah.
So would you say it's a little bit of a gamble?
A little bit.
I
So is
like
Fields, but
Yeah.
I'd rather have Fields right now than Deshaun Watson.
I like these two. Watson. I respect what he did in Houston. Like he did a good job down there. Like
Not an easy situation there. either,
agreed.
A lot of the
And
time.
that's both of them. I was talking about that. Fields and set up for failure, and he's battling. So hopefully they've made some changes. We'll see. I'm not sold.
They
on
stuck by him, so there's that much. But
All right.
They've got a legit number one in DJ Moore. Yeah,
I love DJ Moore.
And that little
Down
run
the-
that he had was really impressive.
Yeah, he's got to get better past.
Yep. All right.
All right, we got.
Well, this is the easiest pick in this exercise.
Oh, I know it. Can I just? Because I've said I know every pick.
The easiest pick that anybody could possibly make in this draft is right here at 14th overall. I think he's better than the 14th overall quarterback. We're going Jordan Love at 14
see,
overall.
that was going to be my guess, and it was actually going to be my next
Right.
pick. It was going to be my next pick
Guess
because
what?
I knew he was going to be high.
I'm
on Ty's
wrong.
board.
Jared Goff.
We're going Jordan Love.
Goff.
He's a mystery man to the country, not just the NFL.
PFF doesn't care about that. PFF is.
They don't like him. Or they didn't like the small sample size,
Well,
I should say.
that's the thing. You haven't seen him, but guess who has seen him? Guess who doesn't look at him as a mystery? The Green Bay Packers. Brian Gutekunst, Matt LaFleur, Christian Watson, Aaron Jones, Romeo Dobbs, A.J. Dillon. I know David Bakhtiari is talking about rebuilding, but he's wrong, all right? Jordan Love is ready to start, to win, to produce. I think that what they saw in practice the last 2 months of the season with the deep ball wasn't as good as it gets, and he is just an extension of everything they want to do in offense. It wasn't the case with Aaron Rodgers for good reason. He can tap into his own personal offensive line of scrimmage. He had that autonomy where, man, imagine 3 years, 365 days a year, you're training to be the quarterback for a specific offense and a coach, and you're playing versus air, and you're simulating things nonstop. You get thrown in against Kansas City. It doesn't go well. But then you turn that corner, year 2 to year 3, right when Aaron Rodgers signs that $150 million contract. I think that what players told me is, hey, we saw it in OTAs when he came back. He was a different quarterback. You saw it in the preseason. Granted, the numbers aren't great if you look at, but I remember watching each of those preseason games. The escape, the improvisation, it was promising, right? You can't read too much into those kind of games. But then you saw it against Philadelphia in the one game he did play. It wasn't mop-up duty. It was a close game. They weren't just in prevent. They were trying to win. 6-9, 2 drops in there. I think that he has to play. Like, I get it. The sample size is very small. Like, we haven't seen a lot of it.
Just let it play out.
But I need an upside pick here. Obviously, I've been high on him for a while, and I think that Green Bay, they wouldn't be all in. And this is where maybe Aaron Rodgers has somewhat of a point in his diatribe with McAfee and with the Athletic. When he says, like, he wants the Packers to just say that we just say it. Like, you want to start him. I think that might be true. Like, I do think Green Bay made the decision pretty early on. Like, we're going with Jordan Love. Like, we believe in him. He's our guy, and we're tired of the other stuff with the other quarterback. And I'm really excited to see him play. We'll see if he's good. I think he is. Nobody really knows yet.
I'd like to know if there was a debate between Gutekunst and LaFleur. If Rodgers seems pretty vocal out against Gutekunst, would you agree? More than LaFleur or no? I'm asking.
I think that the Rodgers-LaFleur relationship
is not
was
good.
Fine.
That's
okay.
I do too. I think knowing a head coach, how they operate, he wants Aaron. LaFleur wanted Aaron Rodgers.
See, I think he reached the point where he was ready to move on. I think everybody's on board right now.
So they didn't do that. I was just wondering. It just seemed like Rodgers was singling out Gutekunst more. Not Rodgers personally, but it seems like he's wanted him fired. Like,
I don't know LaFleur personally. I would think anybody who ascends to NFL head coach on the strength of their offensive mind wants to run their offense, right? And he kind of has, but he kind of hasn't. For the most part, it's been really, really good. I mean, Aaron Rodgers won 2 MVPs, but they've kind of been building these 2 offenses within one the entire time. That's why I love the pick. It gives you that opportunity. How many teams can do that? Nobody can do
He's
that.
a complete unknown.
So he's
complete unknown.
I do think that LaFleur has a really good relationship with Love.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean
Steve Calhoun has said he's been in touch with LaFleur all offseason, each offseason.
Oh, no, LaFleur definitely excited.
Specific drills. That's what I want you to work on.
I think at this point, really we're at the 14th pick. Again, you're looking for those guys that are going to be jumping up tiers.
Mm-hmm.
I think he is the number 1 candidate in the NFL to jump up a couple tiers in terms of where you slot. Because if you're just slotting him right now based on what he's done, he's somewhere around the 20 to 32nd best quarterback starting in the NFL. But what he could do, there's talent still there in that offense. They didn't, like you said, they could throw the rebuild word around, but they didn't tear it down to the studs. They've still got some good players out there. And it's always interesting, right, when a guy's just been sitting and you haven't seen him and you don't know what he's going to look like. And then all of a sudden he gets in there and does it, and everybody thinks, why didn't we see this come? Is it not? I mean, he's sat for a lot longer, but like Patrick Mahomes sits around for a year, sort of out of sight, out of mind. Nobody's crushing the Bills, right? It's just like Patrick Mahomes is sitting there on the bench. Then he gets in and starts playing that next year, and it's like, wait a second. Who traded that pick? Why did they do that? And so these guys that get a chance to do that are so rare now. Love has gotten an extended chance. Maybe I've just been reading too much go long, but I'm buying Jordan Love. I'm in. I was going to take it. I should have known that he wouldn't last.
He's such a fun draft pick because of the unknown.
And Monas thought you were going Goff, and so I was like, wow, I'm going to get Jordan Love, and this is going to make this fun.
He could be with that combination of everything he can do. So, unknown. I'm excited to watch.
I'll say this, too. Like, those receivers and backs are thrilled that Love is the quarterback in the sense of, like, their heads are not going to be swimming play to play like they were with Aaron Rodgers. And walk up to the line of scrimmage, oh shit! Like if he does this weird little signal or calls us audible, and I've never heard it before. What do I do? Like everybody will be on the same page. There's a beauty to simplicity and streamlining things. So, all right, I believe it's Mr. Fairburn's back-to-back picks here at 15 and 16.
I'm gonna stick with what I've been doing with my latest picks here. I'm going Dak Prescott. A guy that's just done it.
Wow.
He
over
really
and
fell
over in this exercise.
He scares me with PFF.
Well, he does have some variance with PFF where when he's not playing well, he rides the roller coaster a little bit. Injuries have been a problem.
The good is good though.
But when he gets cooking, he's right up there in the top 7 or 8 quarterbacks in football, I think. I didn't have the conviction to take him earlier, but when he slides to this spot, I feel pretty good. I don't know what to expect from Dallas, but I just believe in the talent of Prescott enough here. And I'm making the boring picks, right? You guys are stepping out on limbs.
Well,
I'm making some boring picks because I want a free dinner.
Yes. I'm already thinking about
meat
the odds.
and potato picks.
I'm already thinking about the odds. Like yours
stacking good
yours
grades.
is yes, yeah. You're coming in right now as the biggest.
You're looking at here's the Matt Fairburn's team so far: Allen, Herbert, Rodgers, Cousins, Prescott.
High floor.
I like that.
High floor.
That's a good way to say it. My
next pick. Again, I could say this about my last 3 picks. Not super excited to run to the table and make these picks. I'm just sticking to the board. I'm letting the board tell me what I should do.
You should be excited about the players you're taking. You should be enthralled and intrigued. I mean, I'm beyond excited.
I haven't been prepped and polished by a PR staff to deliver, all these great lines about my picks. I'm just giving you the honest truth. I'm not that thrilled, but I'm going to take Jared Goff.
Hey, that's what solid pick.
He's got a lot of talent around.
He grades well for him too.
And he's not one of the 10 best quarterbacks in football. But here we are, and this is pick 16. And I think that's Jared Goff territory. Are there guys that could pass him on the list easily? Could Jordan Love easily be better than Jared Goff? Absolutely. But the baseline for Jared Goff is pretty solid. And I like what they have going in Detroit just as far as, the talent they're putting around him and solid offensive line. So I feel pretty good about the floor. I feel pretty good about the fact that he doesn't have a ton of competition they didn't take a quarterback high enough that I feel like he'll get replaced at any point. They're under enough pressure that they want that solid veteran. Boring pick, but
here's my thing with Detroit. It's enough. Like, do something. It's the NFC. Enough with this great offense and nobody.
Rodgers is gone.
He's such a Lions hater over here.
I'm just over.
Well, here I am again, just a loyal go-long reader. I've been reading lots of positive words about the Detroit Lions,
but PFF Goff is good.
They like Goff.
Their offense is off the charts. Do something. NFC's average.
Retaining Ben Johnson is massive, right? I mean, you watch all these games. His play calling is innovative.
I just don't think Goff's good enough. Yeah, no, I love their offense. Like, their offense is real. Like, they're making people on alert. Like, you can tell. They have people on their heels. They're bringing up points, yards. That's the sign, right? Like, but do something now.
Well, here's what's funny.
You got to do something.
If we were when we do this exercise for the playoffs, I don't know if I want almost any of the guys I've picked, right? So outside of Josh Allen,
redraft.
Outside of Josh Allen, who I think,
that's a good exercise. That should be
Josh Allen has shown it in the playoffs, not to the level of the other two, but he has shown it. Aaron Rodgers has not been a great playoff performer of late. He's been slowed down.
More than of late. Really.
is unproven in the playoffs. Prescott, not great in the playoffs. Kirk Cousins, not great in the playoffs.
You got to type.
Jared Goff, not good in the play. Not good in important, tough games when you can scheme up for one game against a guy. Not good.
You're drafting for the game.
I'm drafting for you said regular season. You said we'll do it again for the playoffs. So
PFF regular season.
I'll be throwing my team in the trash and picking possibly all new quarterbacks by the time that happens. Because I'm throwing that caveat in there before people think I got the bag of milk squad over here with all these boring picks, but looking for the regular season production only.
I'm really surprised that Dak fell to 15. I thought he might go up in that Carr range, really.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I don't see much difference between them. Carr was I feel like this is going to be a good year for Carr. That's my thing.
So our rules, we're each drafting 7 quarterbacks, but we're taking the top five scores.
It protects you against injury, a guy getting benched, a real bad year.
That being said, I'm going to take Anthony Richardson at number 17. You can probably read these picks a mile away. Because if it hits, it hits. We debated this on a prior episode, Matt. I mean, he's just – I don't know. I think for the physical, athletic skill set he has, there's really no comparison other than maybe Josh Allen. It's one of the strongest arms instantly. He didn't really look – here's what I liked about Anthony Richardson at Florida. It's not like he looked to bail and run.
No.
He only ran when he had to. He probably should have ran more. Really. I mean, he probably should have taken up more than he did when he's got that ability, but he didn't. So that kind of tells me he's working through some reads. Like, he's trying to see what the defense is doing, and his incompletions didn't strike me as unfixable. I mean, it's not a fatal flaw, in my opinion. I think that with the right coaching, the right play calling, hello, Shane Steichen, right? He just did it with Jalen Hurts. You've got Isaiah McKenzie there in Indianapolis, so obviously the slot position is solidified. Michael Pittman, hello, Jonathan Taylor, the best running back in football, the best offensive guard in football. I'm not saying the Indianapolis Colts are going to contend for a Super Bowl, but hey, if we're going to – I love our format on taking the top 5 because if it hits, I mean, this is somebody who could just be something defenses haven't faced.
He wasn't on their board, that team's board.
You said Tim Tebow was better prospect.
No, but I'm saying he's going with Steady Eddie.
He was awesome.
This is the definition of I like this. No, I like this.
1 year is what made Anthony Richardson a tough sell for me. Is I don't know if in year 1 we're going to see everything that Anthony Richardson is capable of, but young quarterbacks are doing it quicker and quicker. It seems like, and
it does.
There's no, especially the guys who can make plays with their legs. That translates right away. So I like the roll of the dice. You've got some upside cooking in these later rounds. I'm not going to give away my strategy because I got another pick. But this is what you want to do in the late rounds. I think is swing for the fences. It's part of why the format has set us up to take some chances.
I knew it. You're taking Barkley, aren't you?
And Barkley. Well, you gotta back up your star.
Yeah.
You gotta handcuff him, as they say in fantasy.
Handcuff him with the third stringer. All right, so Monis,
your last 2 picks.
These are
right.
Man, that's right.
This is what we always like to say in drafts. We like when you make it easy for us. Just let it fall. And these are the top 2 guys left on my board.
Don't you dare. There's still one guy I want badly.
See, this is a guy who's been prepped by his PR staff. He's got the one-liners ready.
It raises a good question. Like, before you went out, because you did a few of those press conferences when we covered the team after picks. Like, were you getting coached up by PR? Like, were they telling you, hey, like, rubbing your shoulders? All right, Jim?
No. They were good. No, not for those. That was pretty much talk about the players. Mine were pretty basic. We know the ones that they prepped for, and it didn't go so well for Doug on that one. So their record on preps it wasn't that wasn't a good one.
I think there's some really good PR people out there. So
there's
some
just like
excellent PR
good
people.
coaches and average.
But the best ones just kind of let guys be themselves, right? Like just be you, just be authentic.
Well, you can't really step in it when you're just breaking down why you picked a player, unless that player's got a little bugaboo in their past with something they did off the field or whatever. Then you could step in it. But otherwise, pretty basic. And I mean, clearly, Jim just needed a little coaching. I mean, you can see that the cliches are just flying off the tongue here. He's got all the stock one-liners
ready for this. Like these drafts are what it's all about in the offseason. We have nothing else to talk about. Like, all right, I guess nobody likes Super Bowl champions, but here we go. Out of nowhere. Anybody think Sean Payton and McVay had a little saying? Matt Stafford, Russell Wilson.
Oh,
my last two picks. Let's go.
Good. I'm glad you took them both. I don't want either. Get out of here.
I had
God, they're so bad. Russell Wilson.
What have you said? After picking a guy for the Bills. God, he's so bad.
It's a seventh round. What can we do?
Russell Wilson. I picked Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson. I don't think I saw two worse players on tape last year.
Russell Wilson was awful.
I can't believe that Sean Payton.
He was on television so damn much too. The networks were in on the Broncos.
I'm going with Coach Payton somehow.
The Subway commercial is still an all-time.
I'm going with what Coach Payton did with I don't know, and I'm going with McVay and Stafford saying let's get back to we're not going out like that. I want guys that are trying to prove like Stafford, Russell Wilson, Deshaun. These are champion guys that were borderline as bad as it gets.
I don't even know what is around Stafford at this point. He still has Cup, I guess.
I don't know.
But defensively, look at their roster. Look at the roster on defense outside of Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald's not
like I don't even know some of these guys.
Aaron Donald's probably not good. He's going to try to wait till the playoffs anyway.
But it could help Stafford. He might be throwing a lot.
I'll get a good PFF grade.
Yeah. That's what matters.
All right, there we go, champion.
Speaking of Russell Wilson and endorsements, and I mean that Subway commercial with the Danger Witch is, oh my god, it's one of those things you can never unsee. But Gina and I finally have been watching the Jared Fogle Subway documentary on HBO. Do you guys see that?
Did not.
Holy hell! Tell you what, when you have kids, it changes everything and how you see the world. It's definitely a must-see. It should be required viewing. It's sickening. But I just got to thinking, like, how did Subway, like, just so effortlessly move on? Like, that should be – he was the face of Subway for a decade. And he's doing what he did to these little kids. That should be, like, the end of your company. Which, by the way, Quiznos are 100 times better than Subway. Anyways – I never understood how Quiznos was kind of left in the dust. If those two stores aren't by each other and you're dying for lunch, you go Quiznos every time. But then you also, the face of your company is a monster, and it's like they didn't even miss a beat. That's crazy to me. Especially when we see now, I mean, like Bud Light and Target are falling apart. Like, look at what Jared Fogle did. It's kind of nuts, huh?
Drafted a guy.
Somebody earned their paycheck. Keeping that company on the rails.
I guess.
Because the sandwiches, frankly, are not that good.
No. I mean, really, they're not that good. They're very average.
Yeah, not good enough to overcome that, but the business was, apparently.
Also, like Rob Gronkowski told me in Blood and Guts, like he had to put on all this weight when he got to college, like to beef up and be tight end. He said how he like just pounded Subways. You know, every dressing he could get, foot longs, eating a cookie with it. Like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that like so like Jared, like he's doing it to lose weight, you're doing it to gain weight, and then now you see Rob Gronkowski in every other Subway commercial. I'm like, okay, were you trying to sift in a little advertisement into the book here, Rob? Come on.
All right, so scouting story, Subway. I can't eat there anymore because on per diem when I first started scouting in the Northeast for Philadelphia, I'm thinking to myself at lunchtime, I'll get the foot long, eat half lunch, half dinner, get in the car, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I'm stacking per diem. I did it for weeks. I ruined Subway because I ate it so much.
Ate it that much.
I now can't eat it. But it's horrible. It's just like what I said about my pick. I couldn't stop eating it, but I did it for the per diem. Anyway, Russell Wilson, horrible last year.
What,
took him.
I didn't tell you. I can't eat Subway.
Because?
It's complete opposite reason. I think I was driving to New Jersey or Philly for a story a couple of years ago. And like right at the turn there at the bottom of New York State, like right in the corner, there's that exit. I forget what exit it is. It's like right before you go like to New York City or Philly. There's a Subway. And I went to get a foot long. And the guy, God bless him, I'm sure he was a nice gentleman. He is trying to make a paycheck. Might have been 19, 20 years old, youngish guy. And he had a cold, and he just had like snot kind of all over his face. And he just sneezed like 2 or 3 times into his elbow while he was making my sub. Like he's making my sub, and he just turns and just explodes into his elbow. And like he apologized, and he had gloves on, and he finished the sub, and I paid for it. And I immediately threw it out, and I haven't eaten Subway since. I just can't. I can't do it.
That's tough one.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we're definitely at pick number 20, breaking down Subway.
This happens at drafts. It can happen. Trust me.
It's my pick, isn't it? All right, my final pick. I'm very glad you didn't take this player.
Who can you not believe?
So I can't believe he's there.
Like we should guess.
I can't believe
Tyler's pick. He's a pretty
no.
predictable drafter.
Do you feel like you know it?
I feel pretty confident.
All right, but guess who it is.
Hold on. Let me pick. Oh, this is tough. I'm not gonna get it.
My guess is Daniel Jones.
Ding ding.
You know what I realized though? You're right. There's some. This will be interesting. He's gonna score well.
Getting Daniel Jones at 20 here
That could be a good with one of the.
It's a coup.
It's about where he belongs.
It's a
if
coup.
we're being honest.
I would agree too.
Was considering him at 11 at the Tua pick. We were thinking Daniel Jones.
That's a definite.
You're gonna get the running.
There's somebody out there that's shocking that he's not been drafted.
You're getting Darren Waller. They're adding weapons. They're drafting weapons. But I think number one reason you want Daniel Jones on your squad for this exercise is Brian Dable.
Yeah.
That offense.
Yeah, you believe.
And they're going to innovate. They're going to stay a step ahead.
They showed it.
They're going to use him statistically one way or another. So I think he's going to fill up a stat sheet. I think the Giants are going to win a lot of games. I think they'll win the division and be a factor in the playoffs. I'm loving my squad.
That leaves me with Mr. Irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
The final quarterback.
Brock Purdy?
Of the draft. No, the Mr. Irrelevant of this draft.
I know.
I'm not a Brock Purdy. Not a Brock Purdy guy.
I wonder if it'll be the guy that I cannot believe that.
So I'm having an internal debate over whether I should stick with the theme I've had or step out on a limb, last pick, and take a chance on somebody who could, make that jump. If I was going to go with the theme of my draft, Geno Smith is the easy pick.
Rock solid, steady.
Just a solid, steady veteran. But there's 2 younger quarterbacks that I'm thinking about. And the one I'm going to go with is a complete roll of the dice, but I like what he has around him. And I'm going to go with Desmond Ridder. In that offense, there's some talent. He's got Kyle Pitts. He's got Drake London. He's got Bijan Robinson now. Like, there is a good chance he could get benched before the end of the season, right? But they're going to let him go and earn the job and see what he's got.
I like it.
Mac Jones was in consideration here because when he played well as a rookie, Pro Football Focus had him hanging out around the top 10 quarterbacks. But my fear on Mac Jones is job security. Bailey Zappi's there and showed a little something last year, and I'm not feeling overly confident that New England is going to turn some corner just because they have Bill O'Brien. I might sit here and I feel bad passing on Geno Smith, but I feel like I got to spice it up for the sake of the podcast. Go for a little bit of a risk.
I like it.
I love it. And I like Geno.
A lot more exciting than Russell and Stafford.
I mean, Geno definitely took defenses by storm. I mean, nobody saw that coming. The last month of the season, that's the question. Like, did he kind of come back to what he's always been?
That's the fear. I think there's as much risk in that as there is in Desmond Ridder never figuring it out.
Exactly.
Right? So I feel like I've built myself a solid foundation, right? If Desmond Ritter flames out, that's all right because we got Kirk Cousins.
Steady.
He's
Okay.
comfy. You know?
Also, there was a picture making the rounds. We love OTAs, right? The clips, the pictures.
Yep.
A picture of Desmond Ritter.
Oh,
Ritter. Oh my God, how many IPAs have I had? Ritter with a bicep exposed, and it was a big bicep. He had a gun, heavy artillery. Looked like somebody's been living in the weight room. We all know that's a storyline to track this time of year.
A year ago, would you have thought Kyler Murray does not get drafted in a top?
Wow, Kyler Murray wasn't even drafted.
Well, he's injured, right? He's going to be out for a while.
I mean, it's still that PFF final grade, though. You know what I mean? If he comes back and plays, whatever his grade would be.
That's a fair point. The injury was the reason.
I think we all just moved on from it.
Who else didn't get picked here? I mean, we're looking at
Mac Jones, Geno Smith.
Yeah, Bryce, the first pick of the
Kenny
draft.
Pickett
was. Yeah.
I thought about
Monis is a big Steelers believer.
I'm a Pickett Steeler believer, and he was in consideration. I went with proven champion coaches.
Yeah, the big thing with Kyler Murray for me was just the injury. You know, is he going to be ready? What's he going to look like when he's ready?
That team doesn't look
And,
good.
you know, the fact that nobody picked him is good because we probably would have been arguing about, do you need to play a certain number of games to meet the threshold?
To get the threshold.
Exactly.
Desmond Ritter,
1 week.
Right, if Desmond Ritter plays one game and goes off and hurts himself at the end of the week.
Do we need a game?
We probably should work that in.
Yeah, there probably should be a pass attempts. But it's good that nobody picked Kyler Murray because that really would have been the only cheat code in that scenario. But
okay, can I ask my hockey question?
Fire away.
Are we good with that?
Oh yeah.
I'm not a huge hockey fan, but a fan of the city of Buffalo and a fan of the city of Las Vegas. Is Buffalo more of a party hard city than Las Vegas? Because Eichel seems just fine in Vegas.
It's a fair question.
Is it or is it ridiculous? Is it like way over the top?
It's a little ridiculous, okay. But I do think there might be something to. It probably depends on the person, right? But if you're in Las Vegas, don't you become a little bit used to it at some point? And you're like, all right, I get to live here all year round, getting down to business during the hockey season.
It just becomes
the bigger thing with Jack is that he's in a winning environment. He's surrounded, like he's also in a place where he does not have to be everything. And I think that was always the biggest problem in Buffalo. He was the captain way too young.
Too much.
He was expected, to lift this franchise out of the basement. And there was just a lot put on him. And out there, he gets to be a part. And I feel like that's the better role for him. He might win the Conn Smythe if they win the Stanley Cup. I mean, he might, and it feels
Lawrence Taylor wants Super Bowls.
It feels like, it feels like Sabres fans aren't as riled up as you might expect about Jack Eichel doing so well. And it's probably because the Sabres are doing just fine themselves with what they got in return. But
it had to end.
It had to end. But it's also kind of like we talk about the mystery box. It's like, sure, they got Jack Eichel in the Stanley Cup, but the Sabres got the mystery box. It might even be Jack Eichel in a Stanley Cup.
Good point.
That's
cool.
It definitely ran its course, though.
It did. I mean, you got Jack Eichel versus Sam Reinhart in the Stanley Cup Finals. That's a tough. And Brandon Montour on the Panthers. Can't overlook that. Another guy the Sabres traded away for a third-round pick.
It's wild.
And he's a stud down there. So either way, you're going to have that moment with one of those guys holding the cup, thinking, especially when it's Reinhart and Eichel.
Ryan O'Reilly just did it.
Back-to-back number 2 picks that you tanked for. Those guys were the reasons that you tanked. And then they're going to fulfill that destiny elsewhere, essentially. It puts, I think, the way I've kind of framed it in my mind is, it's not really Kevin Adams' fault that things had run their course with Jack Eichel. That was happening long before Kevin Adams became general manager. Certainly not Don Granato's fault. He stepped in and didn't even get to – he might have coached – I don't even know if he coached Jack Eichel at all. But it does put a certain pressure on you to set up that environment, right? So that you're the team that guys come to and they become the best. And they're starting to do that. I mean, Tage Thompson, Alex Tuck, all these guys having career best seasons. It just puts that pressure on you to not drive away star players anymore, to not be a place where it gets so bad that guys beg out.
I wasn't even really back in Western New York yet. I think I moved back in 2015 from Green Bay.
Yeah, you would have been moving back that summer that they took Eichel.
But I remember being very pro-Tank because Connor McDavid was worth it. And I went to a couple of Erie Otter games, and it's like, this guy is a freaking cheat code. It's insane what he does on the ice. Like, I'm no hockey savant, but I'm like, this is worth doing whatever you can to give yourself the greatest odds to get this player. But to your point, what it took to get to that point, man, they tore that locker room apart, the roster apart. I mean, you go to a Sabre game, during those Tank years and even in the years that followed, and there's just an energy, an atmosphere, a pop that was lost that you had. I mean, it's crazy. Those playoff games in the late 90s and then the Renaissance there in 05, 06, they were insane. And I'll never forget going to those games for the rest of my life. I mean, you can't even hear yourself think in that arena. And then to just do everything you can to get that player, like,
not for
completely
nothing,
lost that.
McDavid was the prize, right? And he's watching from home right now again. The Oilers haven't been able. Hockey's a different sport, right? Where
it's a different sport.
Connor McDavid was everything the Oilers could have hoped for and more, and still they haven't found the right mix around him. So it's not Connor McDavid's fault. It's not, it's not like he doesn't show up in the playoffs. It's that it takes a hell of a lot more than that, and that's the beauty of how it's worked out for Jack Eichel in Vegas, is that he was, sort of that piece that they needed, but he doesn't have to be everything. And you also see different types of players put their teams on their backs. You got Sergei Bobrovsky carrying the Panthers, but Matthew Tkachuk being a style of player that you don't see a lot of in the NHL. He wasn't, flying off the board number one, and yet here he is. He's probably, you're redrafting NHL players right now. He's right up near the top of the list. I mean, he was second on. I'm guessing, come second in the Hart voting behind McDavid. I mean, McDavid was wildly good this year, points wise, but Tkachuk, with the season he had and what he does for that team, he is just pound for pound one of the best players in hockey. So it takes so many different elements to pull it off. So it was. The bars are open till 4 in Buffalo, to Jim's point. Buffalo is a little bit of a crazy town. Jack has it all, at his fingertips in Vegas, but I think there is something different when you walk into a locker room where the expectation is Stanley Cup and it's all business. And
There's no question.
He's a competitor. He knows. That's what he wants. He wants to prove people wrong. He wants to show that he can win. So
the building matters.
The strip is still going to be there.
Culture matters.
The building. How I'm starting to go building, whatever it is, culture. It matters. You guys have all been around it. You see the good. You've seen the bad. I've been a part of the best in the NFL. I've been a part of
the ultimate too.
Everything Vegas has to offer is going to be right there waiting for Jack if they win the Stanley Cup. Right? It's all right there in the offseason. It's not going anywhere. So I think there's that element of it. Where
that's for
even for guys who like to enjoy the nightlife,
that was more.
That's heck, if anything, that's motivation to get a parade going through.
Yeah,
Las Vegas.
Fun
fun Stanley Cup.
Man, I didn't know we were going to get bonus NHL analysis. That was excellent, man.
Thank you for that. Like, I don't even think it just for some reason being out there, I'm like, Eichel is, I don't know, situations. Buildings,
I'll tell you what, the hockey playoffs have been way better than the basketball playoffs, in my opinion. I've tried to watch as much as I can of both.
I
don't think it's been close.
I feel like both had some letdowns, right? The NBA hasn't been great. The NBA has not been great.
Some runaway series,
Yeah, I don't feel like the sweeps are happening right now.
I guess I'm more so disappointed in the NBA.
I would agree.
Even the 7-game series, it wasn't
not the same.
Like history will show, oh my gosh, they almost came back from 3-0. It really wasn't that exciting series. The Derek White play was incredible, I guess.
For the Heat to be in the finals based on how they played this year and should have lost in the play-in.
Yeah.
Like it's the NBA regular season is completely
sweet.
No, I think it's too hard to sweep for some reason.
Heat get a game too.
It's tough. As long as Denver wins the series, we're good.
There you have it. Well, more importantly, it's about this draft that just transpired. So
I can't wait to go analyze.
If I win, I'm going.
Kuiper's grades come out.
2 appetizers,
Kuiper's
2
grades.
entrees.
Kuiper's grades are coming.
The grades will be out on Monday. All right, that was fun.
All right.
Thanks so much for doing it, fellas. And Matt for joining the party here.
Joining the squad.
Everybody has kids too, so it's not easy leaving kids. I appreciate it.
It's always a good time with you fellas.
And hey, let's hang out Hamburg
Fatty's the spot,
right?
Oh, Hamburg music too.
Yeah, this weekend. And then
I'll be there.
Of course Fatty's. Fatty's will be doing. They got some music here too.
We'll bump in.
Make sure you get out.
Ninja Turtles on the arcade, Space Invaders back here. I mean, this place has it all.
Everything you could possibly need. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you next time.